Okay, we are live.
Good afternoon, this is George. Welcome to the Alzheimer's Disease and Related Disorders Commission Coordinated Care Work Group. We'll get started in just a minute, but just a reminder that we are streaming live to YouTube to enable the public to view, and we will be recording this as well.
All right, George, I think we're waiting for a couple of more folks to join in, right, from the work group.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, just give me a second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So, George, who all are supposed to join? I think Karen, Laura, and Tina, right?
Karen, Laura, Tina, yeah. And Karen was on briefly and then disappeared, so I hope she comes back.
Okay. And then I believe we invited somebody else, right?
Fonda Neal, and she
Fonda
is here. Yeah.
Fonda. So we just
here.
wait.
Hello.
So we just wait for Karen, Laura, and Tina to join in.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all are seeing this, but there's some people in the waiting room, but it's showing on my screen, but I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah, so can you let them in, please, Dawn? Sorry, I've been knocked off as host because I got disconnected.
Okay, yes, I'll let them in then.
Thanks.
That's what is happening.
All right. Great.
Joyce, can you make George host again, please? This is Betsy. I'm not sure. Joyce is on offline.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I'm the host again. All right. So I think everybody's here. Here's Karen. Okay. So good afternoon. Welcome to the Alzheimer's Disease and Related Disorders Commission Coordinated Care Work Group meeting today, November 2nd. So I'll just do the quick housekeeping, Karim, if that's okay, and then I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure everybody's heard this before, but due to the active state of emergency, this is an electronic meeting pursuant to item 4-0.01 of the 2020 Appropriation Act. Meeting notice has been provided. The meeting is being recorded and minutes are being taken. All votes will be conducted via a roll call of voting members. Meeting materials are posted under the Alzheimer's Disease and Related Disorders Commission's Work Groups tab at the link at the DARS website. Members of the public are able to stream this meeting via the DARS YouTube page. Please be advised that if the live stream is interrupted, we will need to pause the meeting until it is restored. Public comment will be accepted by email or phone to my attention. Public comments that were received by yesterday will be read, or if lengthy, summarized during the meeting when we reach that agenda item.
Great.
Now for the Zoom functions, you're probably familiar with this already, but down at the bottom right is your mute button, so please keep yourself muted unless you're talking. You can use the space bar to temporarily unmute yourself, but keep holding that down while you're talking. And please identify yourself before you speak. That makes it easier for our captioner, and it also helps your colleagues and with me documenting minutes. If you have your video enabled, please be aware the system may capture your image and video in the public streaming and recording. You can use the chat feature as well, but just be aware that that's not being captured publicly, so keep any chat items to things like technical support rather than meeting content. You can also view the closed captions, so turn on the closed caption button to see the subtitles or the full transcript. The subtitles are automatically embedded in the YouTube. You can also use reactions, thumbs up for agreement, or clap to raise your hand. But again, be aware that this won't be captured in the public stream. So, and view options you can set yourself. Those are typically towards the right-hand side of your screen. And I'd like to just thank the DARS video teleconferencing team and the DARS communication team for making this electronic meeting possible. And I'll turn it, I'll pull up the agenda, Karam, and then I'll turn it over to you. Okay.
All right, everybody, welcome to this coordinated care work group. I want to welcome everybody on this afternoon. I know that we were supposed to meet some time ago, but we couldn't do it because of technical issues. So welcome back. We just go around making a brief introductions for everybody who's here. My name is Khurram Khan, and I'm based out of the Northern Virginia area. I have been with the Alzheimer's disease and related disorder for now 3 years now, and I also own a small home care business in the Northern Virginia area.
Great, thanks. I'll call names, probably easier. Laura Bowser.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. I'm Laura Bowser. I am the chair of the commission, and I have been a member of the commission, I believe, for 6 years. I'm not sure exactly. My sort of story and how I got involved is my mother passed away from early onset Alzheimer's about 3 years ago, and I was one of her caregivers. And in my day-to-day life, I am a HR consultant.
Thank you. Karen Darner.
I'm Karen Darner, and this is about 2.5 years I've been on the commission, and I am a retired speech pathologist in the Arlington Public Schools, where I was for 35 years. And I have a mom and a brother who both were dementia patients having been diagnosed, and one passed away in 2012, and my brother was a victim of the COVID-19 pandemic this past April. And I have been working with Karen Garner on the Alzheimer's team for Congressman Don Beyer in the House of Representatives.
Thank you, Karen. So sorry for your losses.
Thank you.
Fonda Neal.
Good afternoon. I'm Fonda Neal. I am a volunteer with the Alzheimer's Association. I work full-time for VCU. I am a caretaker for my mom, who is now in moderate stage dementia or moderate stage Alzheimer's. And I also work with the Commission's Data and Research Work Group.
Yep, so Fonda's just joined us. This is her first meeting, so welcome and thanks for being a part of this.
Yes.
And Tina Thomas. Tina, you're muted if you're speaking.
I tried to push the space bar, but I guess it didn't work. My name is Tina Thomas. I am the program director for the Alzheimer's Association. I support the staff in the Greater Richmond chapter, as well as the Central and Western Virginia chapter.
Great, thank you. Back to you, Karim. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm George Worthington. I'm the Dementia Services Coordinator with the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services and staff to the Commission.
All right. With that, this is the agenda. The draft agenda is given on the screen. If there are no comments, I would recommend that we adopt the agenda. Anybody in favor?
Fine.
Okay, any second?
Second.
Okay, so the agenda is adopted. Moving on, the previous minutes were sent to all the members, but George being kind enough to put it out here as well. If there is any comments, let us know on this on the previous listing where we met and discussed about from the last meeting, which was
Back in July.
July, yes.
July 29th.
July 29th. If there are no comments, I would recommend that we adopt this. Is anybody in favor?
Second, the adoption.
So we adopt the previous minutes. I'm throwing this open for any public comments now.
Yep, there were none received, Karim, so we can move on.
All right, okay. So now we'll review the dementia roadmap edits. George, we've gone through at least I've gone through it, but if you want to take control of that and guide us through the edits, that'll be great.
Great, thank you. Before we kind of delve into the document itself, I just wanted to discuss some kind of big picture things with you. So one, and these have kind of sprung to mind as I consider what this work group is doing and what the other work groups are doing. And one thing that's really stuck out for me is to have some sort of unified branding. So I'm not expecting us to generate ideas today. I just want to get this out there. And if Laura is okay with that, it's something I'd like to put on the agenda for the full commission meeting, because I think this is something that everyone would, so in December. Great.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Okay. So just like an idea that I had as a working title is Dementia Capable Virginia, an initiative of the Alzheimer's Disease and Related Disorders Commission. So that's just for me to keep it in my mind, but some kind of snappy title that we can use to brand not only the roadmap, but also the package that we're putting together for primary care workers in the training work group, and also the research forum that we've been discussing in the data and research work group, and really any other kinds of products or things that we're working on or promoting as part of the Dementia State Plan that can be considered kind of a coherent package, whether that's for consumers or for providers or for researchers. So this is, if anybody's got some great ideas right now or in the next couple of weeks, if you can send them to me, I would be grateful and we can consider those. But I really think it would be helpful for us in terms of developing a marketing campaign that we can use statewide. And the model that I'm thinking of is the Virginia Department of Health Live Well Virginia program, which kind of is an umbrella for several different programs like the Matter of Balance, fall prevention programs. And Live Well Virginia is kind of, it's the brand that they use for wellness and disease prevention related strategies and some others. Not everything comes under that umbrella, of course, but some do. And yeah, so that was something that came up for me because I think it would be helpful in terms of raising awareness of everything the Commission is doing, and then particularly with regard to these products. And that kind of leads into the second point that I wanted people to think about, which is marketing and training. So I don't think, so marketing of this product, again, we might have something like a high level. So on DARS's website, you'll see a lot of our programs have little 3-minute videos that have been put together by our communications team. So we can certainly have something like that to discuss the bigger brand and the high level goals of this kind of marketing campaign. But then there'd also be some product specific information and flyers or something that we could have for agencies and providers where we're looking to disseminate this particular product, the Dementia Roadmap, through. Training, so I really don't think we need to do a huge amount of training. It's a document, it's a resource guide, but it would be nice to do some sort of webinar or something that we can use to introduce it to the AAAs, the other chapters of the Alzheimer's Association. I'm thinking also CSBs and maybe Centers for Independent Living as well, just to make sure that all these, and adult protective services. So just as a way of ensuring that the key people likely to interact with people living with dementia, at least from the agency point of view, have an idea of what this guide is meant for and why we developed it or adapted it. Any thoughts on either of those 2 points? Branding and the marketing and training.
I love that first point, George. I think finding something that's very catchy, that's easy for people to remember, I think that's going to be great, a great way to push out the program, and particularly because there's so many other things happening out there. So, VDH is going to be doing their own thing when they start to push out the BOLD initiative. So I think having something that really just catches people's attention and immediately tells them what this product is going to be very, very helpful.
I agree, Karen, and I agree. I think what she said was exactly what I was thinking at the time. You want it to be used, and you want it to for people to trust what's in it. And I think that this is the kind of thing that we can show in a video at the website, but it's something that it'll take a little bit of time, but it's going to be very worthwhile in the end.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to just touch on before we get into the document is the BOLD Act funding. So the CDC BOLD Act grant for public health programs that Virginia's Department of Health applied for was granted, as you probably are all aware. And we had an initial meeting last week to discuss the work plan going forward. And this project, the Dementia Roadmap, is contained in the work plan for the grant. And there's also some funding to print hard copies. So I think an initial run of about 12,000 hard copies of this product. So the work plan that was contained in the roadmap was, I think, a little bit ambitious. I had penciled it. I had developed a 3-year plan for this particular product, the Dementia Roadmap. So the first year, which we're well into already, because we kind of got a head start on the grant, would be to develop the adaptation of this document, and then have that ready. And really, the dissemination campaign I penciled in for year 2. So for our purposes, we've been working on a timeline that has us kind of wrapping this up next June, which I think is still feasible. At least it may not be printer ready by the end of June, but I would really like the full commission to approve the text at the annual meeting, which is going to be early June next year. So we have a couple more meetings after this. We may, if necessary, we can squeeze another one in sometime between March, April, somewhere around there, just to kind of, or maybe just before that commission meeting, to make sure that we're all agreed that we're ready to present it to the commission. But I think that timeline is eminently achievable. And so one of I'll just make sure that the BOLD Act or our work plan for the CDC corresponds with that, if all of you are in agreement. Does that sound doable?
Yeah, sounds good.
I think today will be the last kind of real focus on the document itself. Then I'll be kind of fine tuning it, and I'll send out revisions before each time we meet, so we can review it. But I think we want to really focus on these bigger points around how we're going to get it out and how we're going to get it known. So anyway, so the good news is we have funding to print the hard copies, and hopefully we can have those ready for distribution by, I'd say, maybe October next year, September, October next year, just to give us an extra bit of lead time. Any questions about that or thoughts? No? Okay. Then the next point I wanted to come back to was the pictures. So in the roadmap, and we talked about this quite a bit last meeting, but in the roadmap, it has all the photographs on the edges and borders about kind of nature photographs, and then there's some pictures of caregivers and other people, although I think they're stock photos in the document itself. And we had talked about having those pictures be of Virginia, and one idea that was floated was having a photo contest. But actually, as I was mowing the lawn, which is where I often get some ideas, I was thinking about a client that I had worked with on a previous ACL grant for dementia, who was an artist. And one of the things that she was able to restart, an amateur artist. She had stopped painting after her diagnosis, and through our care coordination program, we were able to explore that, and she started painting again, and that was really helped her find a bit of purpose. And I'm wondering whether there's some way that we can showcase art created by people living with dementia in this document. Because I know there's plenty of folks out there who may have an early diagnosis of dementia who continue to create beautiful things, and I'm just wondering if that's something that, and the kind of subliminal message there would be about that it's possible to maintain a good quality of life even with a diagnosis of dementia. So I'm wondering what you all think of that, and is that maybe a direction we could consider going in rather than having photographs?
I think this is Karen. I think it's a great idea. I can't think of where there is a place here in Virginia, but I'm sure that there is, and or several of them. And but I do know that in South Carolina, I went to a Memory Makers program, and they had done a book where they have the art of the various people who go to this respite center, and they put the book together along with their quotes and quotes of their caregivers or family members, and then sold that as a sort of a way to introduce the kinds of things that are done in the center as well as at home, and incorporating the individual people. And it was great. It was just a wonderful, just those kinds of things were part of the book. But to be sort of the background for us in this plan, I think would be a great idea. So, I second your great idea. I didn't mow the lawn. I'm glad you started it.
I think that's a great idea as well, George. And of course, the Alzheimer's Association has participated in the, Memories in the Making program, which is an art program where we have a lot of art already from people who participated in this program. And these are people living with dementia. And also there's still artwork left over from folks who participated in the Art Fusion program. But it might be a great opportunity to reach out to communities or folks within different regions throughout the state and just kind of put those feelers out there so we could showcase some art from somebody from, the Northern Virginia area or somebody from Southeastern Virginia. And so people will feel that representation throughout the state. But I think the reason that it's such a great idea is it does absolutely promote this idea of people still living with dementia, fully engaged.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thanks, Tina. Are the so those artworks that you mentioned, are those yours? Are they things that we could use, or will we need to get permission?
I think that we can use them, and I'll double check because I believe people sign a release when they took the course that we have an option to use it, because I know that we've had events and we've used artwork on the invitations before. So I can check into that for you and get an answer today about that.
Great, thank you.
George,
I think that's a great idea. Sorry, go ahead, Laura.
I was just going to say, I love the idea. And my mom did a ton of art the last few years of her life. And so I would be happy to provide some of that too, if for some reason you guys can't use what you have.
Awesome.
I think it'd be great to have something from your mom. It really highlights the commission's engagement then in all of this, but I also like the idea of getting in touch with different communities across the state. And Insight Memory Center in Fairfax, they just had an auction last week. I'm not sure if those were artworks done by people living with dementia, obviously, with a fundraiser for people living with for their services for people living with dementia. But I'll look into that. And there's also, I know there's the arts program here in Richmond that I have the details for, but I can get in touch with them as well.
Cindy,
the one I'm talking about.
Cindy Pollin's program.
Yeah.
Okay. Art for the Journey.
Art for the Journey, that's right. And then also maybe getting in touch with care coordinators at UVA and Riverside. They might have some ideas as well. But I think we can cast the net wide, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that would love to have something showcased like this. Okay, so I'll pursue that. I think that would certainly make it more Virginia's, and it would, as Tina echoed, it does play into that message about quality of life that we want to get across. Any other thoughts or questions about that? Okay. And I would, that was the sort of thing I would include in the DARS weekly mailing, so the AAAs are aware of it. So really, you know, if a resource coordinator has somebody she's worked with or something, then she can recommend it as well. The other thing I wanted to just touch on quickly is the caregiver snapshots. So again, we had discussed these in our last meeting. These are the quotes that are scattered through the document. I have not yet sent out any requests for snapshots, but I'm going to do that later this week. But looking through them, I think rather than just asking for generic quotes, there were 8 topics or 7 topics that were highlighted in the quotes. So one was what prompted the visit to the doctor. So people can, so if we get a quote around, you know, when I started noticing changes or something like that. Getting a diagnosis, was it hard, was it easy? That sort of thing. Something about the importance of advanced planning, something about the quality of life and ongoing engagement. And then there were separate quotes for middle stage and late stage care needs. And then finally, one on caregiver self-care. So is there anything else that you think would be helpful to have a caregiver snapshot about, any other topic? They kind of tie in with the main points of the roadmap itself.
I think it's fine. 7 to 8 topics sound exactly what we need. Have quotes and tie it all together, really.
Yeah. So, and that kind of brings into my last point, which is the photographs that we had talked about. So having photographs of real people rather than stock photos. And we all agreed that having real people would be better. If I include a waiver form and a request for photos with those caregiver snapshots, does that sound like a good way to go for that, or at least initially?
Yes.
Yep, that'll work.
Yeah, okay. So that is my homework for the week. Now, let me move to the document. So, okay, can we all see that? Are you all seeing the Word document now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I just wanted to just review really what so this is the simple markup view. The full markup is just too crazy. So what I've done is I've gone through, I've checked every web link, I've checked every resource and support and service that was listed and made sure that we have either Virginian analogs to those or if it was a national one, just checking to make sure the web links were right and all that. So that's all been done. I think I only added in a few things in terms of services and supports. And those are things that we have in Virginia and they didn't have in Washington, like the Dealing with Dementia program. And sorry. Yeah, so there wasn't a whole lot of new things, but there were a few additions. The other thing I've added was the caring for the caregiver section, which is right at the back. So let's see, there was a section on communication tips and strategies, and then after that, I think before the resources, having a page about caring for the care partner. And so we had discussed having some sort of self-care information, and so this is what I threw together. We have the Care Partner 10 Commandments, which I think are always helpful for people to be aware of. And those are backwards, obviously. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the left-hand side. And then some just really general information about why it's important to care for yourself as a care partner, and then some things that you can do. Make some time for self-care, join a caregiver support group. And I think some of these were in here already. Learn new caring skills. And so we have a bunch of resources in Virginia that can help people learn new skills, and learning about available resources and supports. So we have the Virginia Caregiver Coalition has just revised its Caregiver's Guide and updated it. So that's going to be, I think that's something we want to highlight here. And then Virginia Navigator and area agencies, the Alzheimer's Association. And I've also, in the resources section, put in a little table of phone numbers. Since this is intended to be a hard copy publication, I kind of want to have phone numbers front and center because people won't necessarily be clicking through to the websites. So I just thought that would make it a little simpler for people. And then adding in a page on notes for people to make their own, put in their own information. And then the final page is the action step summary, which was part of the original document. And then the final page is a section on the commission and where to find the publication. And also we're going to need some information about the grant in here, the CDC grant. And thanking partner organizations. And yeah, so those were all the main changes I've made. I've made a few kind of minor changes to wording and things like that throughout, but nothing too major. Any comments or anything that you'd like me to expand on?
Georgia, what's this one thing I noticed? It's on page 17. Let me see if I can get back there. Under it's where you're talking about medic alert and safe return.
Yeah.
So it's no longer the safe return, it's just the medic alert for a safe return. You know, they changed the name.
So medic alert
For
by
a,
itself.
yeah, for a
Oh,
safe
for a
return.
safe.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'll that medical alerts in here a bunch of times, so I'll go back and change
Okay.
those.
There was
Thank you.
also a section, this is Karen, where you had talked about during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I think we might put something in parentheses like beginning in 2020 or something, so that this, since it's a multi-year document, there may be somebody who comes into the state who's been in a rather secluded area and hasn't been, or can't remember what year it was that at least began. We don't know when it's going to end yet, but just to give a frame of reference for people to know what year we're talking about. And I was looking for it, and
Yeah, I'm not sure,
that,
Karen, if I actually left in anything about the pandemic.
Yeah,
Um,
it was in here. I just saw it.
Oh,
But I
okay, let's
can't.
see.
Yeah, let's see. It must have been after 17. It was.
Oh, here we go. Oops.
Did you find it?
I don't know why that's. Here we go. So that was in the caregiving care. Yeah, that began in 2020. So the point about that was just to highlight that lots of things are now available virtually that may not have been available virtually in the past. But yeah, that's a good point, Karen. Thanks.
And then George, just one other thought, and I know we talked a little bit about this last time, and I don't really know how to resolve it, but I'll just toss it out there. And I know you're talking about changing the title to something a little bit more catchier, but so it's the Dementia Roadmap, a guide for family and care partners. The guide for family and care partners is the part I get hung up on, because I don't see a space for people who are living with the disease.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I guess on first reading, they'd be included in the family, but I mean, it's not always a family. It's maybe somebody living alone, or somebody
right
facing this with a group of friends, or so. Yeah, I take your point. Anybody got some bright ideas right away?
And those living with dementia? Adapt family and common care partners and those living with dementia.
So sometimes what we say when we're just trying to include everyone is for those impacted by dementia, because it's whether it's the person, the family, the care partner, just who they're impacted by the disease. It could just be community members.
I like that because it's inclusive, and it's
and it draws the people in who need to think along those lines that way too. They may pick up the document and not think of it right away, but if there's something that leads them in that direction, it's a good thing.
Yeah. So Tina, I wasn't actually thinking of changing the title. It was more about having something here on the front that says part of the Dementia Capable Virginia initiative of the Alzheimer's Disease and Related Disorders Commission, or something like that. But because if it were a live well document, it would have a matter of balance, and then it would have Live Well Virginia down here. But so it was really just a kind of, not necessarily a title for this or a name for it, but really just something that would help unify this with the other products that we're developing.
Got it. No, got it.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, we'll have to see what that might look like. But so any other thoughts or things that you noticed as you were going through it ahead of the meeting?
I have a question. This is Fonda.
Yes.
In the resources section, Was there a discussion about perhaps including a few books about dementia, like titles of books under the, I think it's under information and documents. There are websites there, but I didn't notice any books. There's this book that someone told me about that was very helpful for me. And I don't know if there are other similar types of books.
So, Fonda, I take your point, because that's certainly a book that I would recommend to pretty much anybody navigating dementia. But I think that as a government supported publication, we can't necessarily, I don't know, I'll have to check this with DARS, but I know we don't link to third-party information unless it's government related on our websites, and so I'm not sure whether we can include particular authors or particular books, but I'll find out, because I noticed that everything I did think about that as I was going through this, and then I thought, well, every document in here is actually a government publication of some sort, or the Alzheimer's Association. So, yeah, let me check on that, because I think it would be nice to, then we get questions from authors saying, well, you mentioned their book, but not mine. So.
Right.
That makes sense.
Can you please include it in the next edition?
That's what I think.
Well, we could also just make a general statement about the fact that there are books that are coming out and being published all the time, and so be sure and check that possibility for your use, and not have to necessarily mention any, but and especially if they have medication and things like that in the book, it's going to say generally that those will be out of date by the time they get published usually. So, but I think if there's just the suggestion to look for books is a very good idea. So
yeah, I think that's a good point. So we could have somewhere down here, visit your local library, or or bookstore for many other sources of information about Alzheimer's disease and dementia, something like that. What are you frowning, Tina?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay.
I'm thinking about what you were thinking. If you, and they would take it, the author would take it, and others as an endorsement. Yeah. And so then you would get pummeled by all these others folks. So, I would try to steer some of these folks to to George's point, governmental agencies, other nonprofits that are looking at evidence-based materials. It's a slippery slope, because some of us know there's some great stuff out there, but it's like,
And once they find doctors and other people, even with the Alzheimer's Association or something like that, they're going to get suggestions. But that books are a good resource. That's all there is to it. So.
That's true.
So actually that neatly brings me to one other thing I wanted to discuss, Fonda. So thank you. So this bit that I've highlighted here in purple, safety concerns for people with dementia and information kit. So this is another product that Washington State developed. So it does have a link, a U.S. government link there, but it's actually a Dementia Action Collaborative product, so the same group that put together the roadmap initially. And it's quite a nice little document. So it's something else that I'm thinking maybe we can ask to adapt and include that in here. Let's see if I can show you. So is that, are you seeing my browser now? Okay. What was on here? Here, Dementia Safety Information Kit. So it's a 6-page document. Goes through home safety, falls prevention, driving, wandering, emergency prep, elder abuse. So it's kind of a nice document that has a whole bunch of great information, and much of it's national or Alzheimer's Association, national government or Alzheimer's Association. So it's something that we could easily adapt for Virginia, whether we want to keep it like this and just ask their permission to do it, save us reinventing the wheel, and treat it similarly to the roadmap. So just go through, make sure all the links are up to date and that everything that needs to be Virginia specific is. Is this something that maybe we'd like to include in as part of the roadmap? I mean, not necessarily to add this whole document to the roadmap, but at least like have this as something else that we're adapting and reference it from the roadmap. Because there's nothing else in the roadmap itself about safety.
And that's often, especially with the person at home, that's often what the family or the caregiver and the person at home wants to have done almost immediately. Consider it and then figure out how to do it. There was a sentence that talked about in that, maybe it was at the very beginning, where it said there's going to, safety concerns are a tremendous need, and then so that you may want to put safety measures in place immediately. There we go. It's helpful to plan ahead and put safety measures in place before they're really needed. This is at the bottom of that page. Do you see that?
Yeah.
I think that tells us that this is a good idea to include, and maybe even include it in its entirety, but at least to an extent that we'll give them a taste of it, and then they can go to a place where they can find the full resource available to them. I like it being incorporated into the plan. So, but if it can't be, then this is another thing. But I think that sentence, it's helpful to plan ahead, it's often good to have in the home for not only the person who's been diagnosed with dementia, but other people who are of the same age or a little younger. But it's something that people are going to find helpful for everybody.
Yeah, that's right. So I think it's probably a little too long to add in its entirety to the roadmap, and just the subject area is a little bit different. It's aimed more at it's kind of self-contained around safety and emergency prep, and I think that's a strong enough standalone that we could have it as a standalone that people could download from the Dementia Services site or All's Possible. Any thoughts? Should we move forward with that?
Yeah, this looks good, George.
I think so too.
That sounds good.
Okay. So I will look into getting permission to use this. I don't think that'll be an issue. And I'll send it to everybody with the notes from this meeting so that you can have a look at it yourselves. But that was the only kind of proprietary source that was included in any reference in the roadmap itself. So,
George, I had a question. I know
yeah.
we had talked about this last time. I know driving had come up. So where does a system like Riverside Center for Excellence, they do that, they have that driving assessment? Is that a link or a resource that could be added? For
Sure.
profit, I don't know off the top of my head what it, you know, how it nestles.
Yeah. Hang on, let me go back to the document. So let's see, there's a little bit about driving in here. I thought, apparently not.
I think I saw it too. So I'm not sure.
No, nothing's coming up.
I thought about it when you were talking about safety, because I know that that's a big issue for so many people.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought there were some things. I'm sure there was something about driving in one of the action steps.
I think so too.
And they have the home safety evaluation. It says request a home safety evaluation here. So I think there's enough about why it's important to think about home safety, that we can then keep that other one as a standalone.
Okay.
From here. As for the driving, there's also a simulator at UVA. I kind of feel like they're not available in enough areas of the state to I mean, that could be something that, you know, if there's one in your area, then this is recommended. But I wonder whether we might be picking up a little can of worms by putting that in.
And I know there are only a few. I know there are only a few, but if you are, you know, at risk of losing your driving privileges, you know, it might be worth the risk. And if they get in for that, it could be a gateway into maybe additional testing or something like that.
Yep. That's certainly true. I hadn't thought about that.
And other people do some of the testing, like a number of doctors do it, and not necessarily in the area of those with concern about dementia, but lots of other things. So just general health and so on, based on an age factor. But I feel like there needs to be something said, but it doesn't necessarily have to be elaborated, because it's going to vary depending upon what is the concern. And the doctors often are talked with by family members before they see the person. So.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can, something about a driving assessment. So, because there's multiple ways to do that. There's either the simulator, or there's the people who are certified by DMV to do an in-car safety evaluation, which I think they are available pretty much anywhere in the Commonwealth. So something about a driving assessment, maybe in this action step. So I'll figure out some language around that. Any other points Thoughts? Okay, is everybody happy with the way it's looking so far, or the direction we're going?
I am. I think it looks very clean. I mean, granted, there's a lot of like fonts and stuff still need to be tweaked, but the way it's all kind of put together looks nice.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. So one thing I was actually thinking whether we just give like the text version to have a redesign. Some of the things are really good, like having the separate boxes for action steps. I think it makes them really stand out. But I'm not a fan of these fonts necessarily or anything. So it's more about the content at this point, I think. So for example, I was thinking instead of having these the line with the dots, like a metro line, it could be an actual road with signs or something, just to make it more road mappy. I don't know, it's a little kitschy, but so I'd like to have a designer actually look at it. But some of these things will translate well, like the boxes for action steps. Anybody else? Anything I need to be thinking about over the next time until our next meeting? So my goal, sorry, Fonda, were you going to say something? No, okay. So my goal before our next meeting then is to actually finish the draft. So make sure that everything looks tidy and everything's, get rid of all these highlights and things. And so you can look at a kind of clean draft before the next meeting. Hopefully I should have some feedback on either the snapshots or the photographs or the pictures. And then we'll have had that discussion about branding and marketing at the next commission meeting, so we can move forward with that once that's decided. But if nobody has anything else to raise, that was everything I wanted to cover today.
It's looking very good, George. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, I agree. It's really good.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate everybody's help and insights. And also having such a good document to start with. So all the work that the Washington State folks put into this, we're certainly going to reap the benefits. So. Okay. So with that, Kerm, I'll turn it back to you. I think that was.
So I know that in our agenda there's for the BOLD Act. I know that you've covered a little bit on it. Do you want to talk a little bit more on that, or do we? If there's any other question from anybody on the BOLD Act?
Yeah, I think I've already covered the BOLD Act, unless people had any questions about it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Okay. Yeah. All right. If there are no other questions, I think this, George, I really appreciate this. I think this is awesome, and the way it's come out. Just a question I had was, are we planning to meet again for after the final document, or is it going to be just review?
So this is a kind of standing work group. So I think once we've wrapped this, we can move on to some other things. So there's plenty of recommendations under goal 4 of the state plan that we can move our attention to. So this was the reason we chose this last year, was that out of a number of different topics that I surveyed everybody on, this was one of the top ones. So there were some others in that list that didn't necessarily get enough votes to be moved on straight away, but I think but we can revisit those topics and see what this group would like to pick up next. So I'd suggest, Carm, that the next time we meet would be in January, February. The next commission meeting is December 8th. And then we'll be meeting again in early March. So if we can aim to meet sort of late January, early February, hopefully we'll have some sort of layout by then, and some graphic content, so artwork and photographs to include. Do we want to go ahead and set a date now, or is it easier if I do a doodle poll?
I think doodle poll works for me. If anybody else has any.
I think the doodle poll works for me as well, George.
Okay. All right. So I'll send that out shortly as well, but aiming for end of January, early February, and then I think meet one more time. Maybe have an extra short meeting in there in that next quarter ahead of the June meeting where we present the final document to the commission.
Sounds good.
Sounds
All right.
great.
Okay.
So if there's no other comments or questions, we can adjourn this meeting. Thank you everybody for joining in, and we hope to see everybody in December for the commission meeting.
Thank
Wonderful.
Great.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
everybody.
Thank you.